Ever mess around with electronics as a kid? Like build circuits, tinker with radios, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Spent hours trying to get my circuits just right.
Yes.
Still remember the smell of solder.
Yeah, it's like its own little world, right? All those wires and resistors, capacitors, you feel like you could create anything.
Absolutely. Total freedom. Like you're on the verge of inventing something groundbreaking.
Exactly. And speaking of groundbreaking, imagine this. You're knee-deep in your electronics kit, and suddenly your hobby becomes entangled with, get this, Cold War espionage.
Sounds crazy, right?
Like something straight out of a spy movie. It's wild. And that's exactly what happened to one of our listeners. Today, we're diving deep into their story. So, our listener, let's call him Alex, was an electronics whiz kid. He loved building things, taking things apart, you name it. And like a lot of kids with niche interests, he had a pen pal.
A pen pal from a different country, I'm guessing. Adds a little
You've
intrigue.
got it. Alex's pen pal was from Poland, which back then was right behind the Iron Curtain.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking Cold War era here. That definitely sets the scene.
Right. So they'd exchanged letters, talking about their shared love for electronics, new circuit designs they were working on. Seems pretty normal so far, right?
Yeah, sounds like two kindred spirits geeking out over their hobby.
Exactly. But here's where things take a turn. Alex noticed that his pen pal's English, which had been, let's say, a little rough around the edges, suddenly improved. Like, dramatically.
That's a little strange. Maybe they were studying hard, trying to improve their communication.
Maybe. But then came an unusual request. The pen pal asked Alex for a very specific type of resistor.
A resistor. Okay, starting to see where the electronics part comes in. But what's so special about a resistor?
Well, this wasn't just any resistor. This one was needed, get this, to repair a Soviet tank.
Hold on, did you say a tank? As in a military tank?
You heard that right, a Soviet tank. See, it turns out the Soviets had this thing about disabling their own tanks before leaving them behind, to prevent the enemy from using them. And guess what the key to this whole disable a tank trick was?
I'm on the edge of my seat here. Let me guess. It was removing a crucial resistor.
Bingo! And not just any resistor, it had to be the exact same type.
Wow. So they basically needed this specific part to make the tank operational again.
Exactly. And get this, Alex's pen pal actually claimed that they had to, and I can't stress this enough, disable a functioning tank just to get a matching resistor for Alex to examine.
Wait, what? They disabled a working tank just to get their hands on this resistor? That seems a little extreme, don't you think?
That's what Alex thought too. It all seemed very suspicious. But ever the resourceful one, he managed to find a replacement, scavenging parts from old TVs and his electronics kit.
He must have been pretty skilled to find a match like that.
Oh, he was a total electronics whiz, so he sends off the resistor thinking that's the end of it.
Of course, it couldn't be that simple, could it?
Oh, the story is far from over. A little while later, Alex is told that he needs to return the resistor immediately. Like ASAP, as if the fate of the world hinged on this tiny little electronic component.
Wow, the pressure. This is getting really strange.
Tell me about it. But just when you think it can't get any weirder, things take an even more unexpected turn. Out of the blue, two men claiming to be government agents show up at Alex's doorstep. Talk about a plot twist.
Whoa, G-Man at the door.
I
That's
know.
straight out of a spy thriller.
Right. And what do? They confiscate the resistor. But here's the kicker. Instead of, hauling Alex off for questioning, they give him, wait for it, a book of logic puzzles.
A book of logic puzzles?
And
Seriously?
You can't make this stuff up. And get this, they tell Alex that they'll be back once he's solved all the puzzles.
You're kidding. This is unbelievable. What in the world is going on here? I mean, what's with the logic puzzles? Was that supposed to be some kind of test?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was this a genuine Cold War operation with Alex caught in the middle, or was it all just a very elaborate prank? What do you think?
Honestly, I'm stumped. On the one hand, the Cold War was a time of intense paranoia and suspicion. It wouldn't be entirely outlandish for a seemingly insignificant component like a resistor to be part of something much bigger.
Right, like some kind of top-secret technology or a piece of a puzzle that both sides were desperate to solve.
Exactly. And the fact that they went through all the trouble of disabling a tank to get a matching resistor,
Yeah.
it definitely suggests that this wasn't just a random request.
But then there's the whole logic puzzle aspect of it all, which just seems so bizarre.
I know, right? It's almost comical. Like, were they testing his intellect? Or was it a diversion tactic to keep him busy while they disappeared with the resistor? We may never know.
It's like trying to solve one of those logic puzzles ourselves. with pieces of the solution missing.
Exactly. We're missing crucial information. For example, what about the Penpal at the heart of it all? Were they who they claimed to be? Or were they manipulating Alex from the start?
That's another big question. Could the pen pal have been a fabricated persona, someone working for, well, someone?
It's certainly a possibility. We have to remember that disinformation and manipulation were common tactics during the Cold War. It wouldn't be surprising if Alex was targeted as part of a larger scheme.
And then, of course, there's the question of what happened to the resistor. Did it play some role in a secret project? Or was it just a resistor?
And let's not forget about those G-men. Did they ever return? Did Alex ever solve those logic puzzles?
Sadly, those questions remain unanswered. Alex never heard from the pen pal or those mysterious agents again. It's like the whole thing just vanished into thin air.
Leaving us with more questions than answers. This deep dive has been a wild ride, but it just goes to show you that sometimes the most intriguing stories are the ones that remain unsolved.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about all the things we don't know, the hidden stories that are unfolding all around us. And it reminds us that even something as ordinary as an electronics hobby could be connected to something much, much bigger.